So I know you said that you feel like most of your community or the way that people find you is mostly through the podcast. So that I've thought about, should I do a podcast? But I wondered, is it really viable? Is it really lucrative? And you said that you still recommend that people start. What are the ways that you can maybe capitalize on having a podcast?
So yeah, that's such a good question. There's so many different ways I could answer that. For you specifically, KhadiYah,
Mhm.
I don't know if you like this idea or not, but something you could theoretically do is extract the audio from the episodes, the YouTube videos that you already have done,
Mhm.
and turn that into a podcast. Because I guarantee a lot of those episodes that you have on YouTube would actually make for good quality YouTube, or I'm sorry, podcast
Mhm.
content. As far as being lucrative, I would recommend there. So there's a couple different ways of looking at it. Sponsorship and ads are probably not a viable option for you if you're just getting going. But what you
Mhm.
could do that to use is another way of looking at lucrative is you get to have conversations with people you might not otherwise have had the opportunity to get to have conversations with. So
Mhm.
it automatically allows you, it opens your door to creating relationships with new people that you admire and look up to. So, but even still, if that's not like beneficial enough for you, another way to look at it is you could use it to gain an audience. You can use a podcast platform to sell your services. So if you're a clinical herbalist and you're looking to expand your clientele, one thing you could do is you could start a podcast and eventually potentially gain fans. And over the course of time, you know, instead of getting a sponsorship from like a large herb company or something like that, you could get sponsorship from yourself. You just say, hey, if you're looking to see an herbalist, hit me up. You know, here's my email address, and let's set up a session or something like that. So yeah, I think there's lots of ways to make podcasts worth it. For me, when I first started, it was really just I, everything with HerbRally is me creating what I wished I would see exist in the world. So that's basically what it is. It's a internet manifestation of what Mason wants to see out there. So that's kind of what it is.
So tell me, what's your favorite platform, or which is if you were just, someone said, I just want to know which the one I should start with. Is there one that you would recommend?
My favorite, and funny enough, is I think it might have been the last platform I joined was YouTube. I think the most excited I am is for YouTube. Like I love being on here, and it's yeah, it's been so rewarding. I've made new friendships via YouTube. I love turning the ideas in my head and Amanda's head into content on the internet. And the other side effect of this, and I'm just now kind of thinking about this, is you know, I've got a kiddo and a family, and theoretically future generations of Hutchisons are going to be, you know, watching great grandpa Mason on the internet. And I just love that it's kind of leaving a legacy of sorts on the world that is the internet. And it's not like I'm talking about legacy like I want to like be remembered in the sense that I did something great. I just think it'd be cool that my great grandchild saw the idiosyncrasies in me and was like, oh, that's really neat, because I don't even know my grandparents personally. You know what I mean? I've never met my grandparents. And that I only know like kind of like my parents. You know what I mean? So I'm like, for the fact that maybe future generations of my family could see how I exist is just like the coolest thing to me.
Oh, awesome. And I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that. I was
Yeah.
actually talking about your favorite podcasting platform, because I don't think you haven't used the YouTube podcast, I don't think.
Oh, interesting. So technically we do. It's kind of on a very underground, little known side channel that we have. But as far as the podcasting platform that we use, it's called Libsyn, which is short for Liberated Syndication. And it's actually like one of the OG podcasting platforms. So you upload it to Libsyn. That's LIBSYN.com. And that's just for all of you out there. If you're looking to start a podcast, Libsyn is definitely like what I recommend. But there's so many out there that you could do. But Libsyn, what they do is they broadcast it to all of the different podcast players out there. And that's your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify, etc. So, but the funny thing is I'm actually a new iPhone person. I never had an Apple product really. Now I have a MacBook and an iPhone, so I joined the cult, I guess. So I listen to podcasts on Apple Podcasts now, and but there's so many out there. I know a lot of y'all listen on Spotify, but yeah, that's I if you're talking about specifically from the podcasting platform, what we use Libsyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that for those, a lot of people don't want to get on camera. So do you think that podcasting is probably a good way to get started because, you're still speaking and, well, I don't want to answer my own question, but do you think it would be a good option or a good recommendation for those who, when people say, I would like to do that, but I'm just, I just don't want to get on camera. They probably are just using it as an excuse, but saying podcasting is an option probably would be a way to burst that bubble. What do you think?
Oh yeah. So my answer, I want it to be like, yes, because you can edit yourself. But then, on the flip side of that, if you want to start a YouTube channel, but you're scared, you could also edit your YouTube videos. You just have to get used to seeing yourself on camera. But yes, you're right. Like if you're incredibly like podcasting actually would be a great way to dip your toe in the waters of YouTubing because you're essentially putting yourself out there. You're opening yourself up to judgment of the public, but you're right. There's no camera on your face. You do start to become more and more comfortable with putting your voice out there. And I'll tell you this, back in 2017, when I started the HerbRally podcast, I didn't even interview people. The podcast was basically pre-recorded classes from herb conferences and stuff like that. That's what the podcast was. And I would do the intros, and even the intros I was scared to do. And I would script them out. And I scripted those things out for a couple of years. And I didn't get to the point where I was actually able to just use my own voice for a while. In fact, Amanda, this was before we were even dating. She listened to the podcast and she told me, Mason, you really just got to try to like organically talk, instead of like, because she could tell that I was just like reading from a script. So yeah, I think whatever the lowest, the easiest step it is to put yourself out there is, I think that's great. Do it. Blogging, but yeah, podcasting is a great way to do it.
So awesome. And I just love all of this, this intel that you're giving us.
Yeah.
Thank you for being 10 years a veteran. All of this information, you are on so many different platforms. You've seen a lot of different things. So what is the barrier of entry to get into podcasting? What tools or things do you actually need to start?
Yeah, so this is what I use, and this is what I've used from the very beginning, and it's what I recommend you use. So all you need is a microphone.
Me or
yeah.
Or everybody.
KhadiYah, I think you should start a podcast, but I know you're about to have your third child, so not to put more on your plate.
If I do, you have to be the first guest, right?
Oh, count me in. I would love that. That'd be amazing. Yeah, so get a microphone, and honestly, you don't even technically need that because your computer has a microphone, your phone has a microphone. But I would recommend if you're going to try to have some sort of audio medium, if you're able to afford it, $70 will get you a good microphone. And I paid, I want to say $70 or $80 for what I use is a Blue Yeti. There's lots of great microphones out there. So get a good microphone if you can. And then I use free software. It's called Audacity. And it's really simple to use. And if you need a little primer on it, there's really good YouTube videos out there to teach you for free how to use Audacity. In fact, when I first started getting into podcasts, I would listen to, this is kind of meta. I would listen to podcasts about how to podcast. So that's another thing I'd recommend is kind of dive into the world of podcasting. But one of them was called The Audacity to Podcast, and he would essentially teach you about Audacity and podcasting. So free software, a good mic, and then I recommend getting some sort of podcasting distributing platform, which in my case, which I've already mentioned, is Libsyn. And then I would recommend after that, once you have kind of those basics, you watch some videos on how to actually publish and produce podcasts and edit and all that, is to just create some sort of low barrier to entry schedule. And our goal, actually, we did a daily podcast for a while. We quit doing that. I would create some sort of schedule for yourself, and it could be once a month. If you stick to once a month, that's 12 episodes per year, and that's amazing. If it's twice a month, do that. But if you could do once a week, even better. But yeah, I would just say try to stick to a schedule, start writing out ideas. The other thing I wanted to say is a podcast does not have to be an interview show. It could be 10 minutes on your thoughts on this one particular topic. Like you could it could just be a solo show. It could be a mix of both. It could be recordings from conferences like what HerbRally used to do. Audio is very it's very giving. Like you could get audio from so many different platforms. So I would just recommend, just start creating an idea list and get it out there. And don't be discouraged when you don't have an audience, because your audience will be very small at first. And then it grows.
Do you feel like it's slow growing, or let's maybe compare it to like the YouTube or Instagram? Would you say it's slower, quicker?
Yeah, I think it depends on you get out of it what you put into it. So it really depends. I would say one of the beautiful things about YouTube is it's the second largest search engine in the world. You know what I mean? So discoverability on YouTube is way more than a podcast, just based purely on search results. You could type in how to do something and then your YouTube video could pop up, which is why it's great to host your podcast on YouTube as well, because then that's a great discoverability platform for your podcast, if that makes sense.
A question about the Libsyn. Is that free or is that a paid, like a subscription service?
So, KhadiYah, do you use like a email newsletter service? Like I use MailChimp.
Actually, it comes with, it's a part of, I do pay for one, but it's actually a part of my website host.
Gotcha.
So it's funny that I have to pay them extra, but yeah, I do.
Is it based on your audience size when you send out a newsletter?
Yes. And frequency.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually exactly the way Libsyn works. So if you have an audience of 14 people and you send out one podcast episode per month, I don't know the actual cost, but it's going to be incredibly cheap, probably like a couple bucks a month. But as your audience grows and the more episodes you put out, I just realized something. I'm totally wrong. It's not audience size. It's actually how many episodes you put out per month. That's what it's based around. Okay. So yeah, it's a megabytes thing. When you put out a certain amount of episodes per month, that's what you're paying for. And they have really cheap options. I want to say HerbRally, we put out probably 8 to 10 episodes per month, and we probably pay. I don't know. I want to say like $75 a month or something like that. But I think there's like $5 or $10 plans. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to see about how much. So someone could, for $100, they get the mic that you were saying. You said the mic. Yeah. And get yourself on a plan. You're going to start off. Yeah. Maybe not posting as much or whatever. So maybe it might be $100, and that's the barrier to entry. So that sounds really good.